more heroes. It's hero begin to catch a nobody but yourself. Nothing less to do.
Travis, it's kill or be killed.
Ow!
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is December 15th, Monday, start of a new week, start of new opportunities. Today, we're just going to be discussing just some different gaming news, mainly surrounding Expedition 33, as well as some new games like Marathon, finally getting a release date, Larian coming out making a statement for that freaky trailer they made, as well as some other games too. Starting with this one. So Expedition 33, again, the game that won Game of the Year, the game that took home 9 awards and pretty much swept the entire show. So much so that people are asking for limits to be put in place because this game just won too much apparently. A lot of people were rooting for this game earlier in the year because it came from some ex-Ubisoft developers who broke off from Ubisoft and wanted to make this game because Ubisoft wouldn't let them make this game just due to how things work at the corporate level. And now apparently, oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong article. I put up the wrong article. I meant to pull up this one first. We're getting to this one next. Expedition 33 has gotten so popular and so big, it's gotten presidential congratulations after making history. Been here just doing stuff around the house, AFK with headphones on. Appreciate you. So the French president, Emmanuel Macron, has praised Sandfall Interactive for its work on Clair Obscur Expedition 33 after the critically acclaimed RPG swept the Game Awards 2025. However, his message drew criticism for some fans who recalled Macron's past, or Macron's, I'm not saying it right. I can't put like the accent on the end, but his past remarks blaming real world violence on video games and accused him of using Clair Obscur Expedition 33's historic win to score political points. In the lead up to the December 11th event, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 made history with 12 TGA 2025 nominations spanning 10 categories. It ended up winning 9 of those, only missing out on Best Audio Design, which went to Battlefield 6. As such, Sandfall's turn-based RPG won 30% of all TGA 2025 awards, securing an unprecedented haul for a French production at the Los Angeles ceremony. He's still in office, thought they booped him out? I guess so. Let me see here. Here's the art they had for it. You know, here's a photo he posted actually from his official Instagram page, it looks like. Yeah, that's him. But in an Instagram post following the December 11th show, Emmanuel Macron congratulated Sandfall Interactive on its sweep, calling it a historic first and a great pride for Montpellier in France. This was not the first time French president acknowledged the award-winning title. He also praised Clair Obscur Expedition 33 in early May 2025 after the game had already gained significant commercial momentum and reviewer plaudits. This is right up there with the same energy as the Polish Prime Minister coming up and giving Obama a copy of The Witcher 2, which if you guys don't know, that's something that also happened as well. They were so proud of the game and loved the game so much. That man brought a copy with him and gave it directly to Barack Obama when he was in office to play. Which, as a developer, that's got to be the biggest pat on the back you can possibly get. The leader of your country coming in and handing your game off to another country's president. That's gotta be dope. That's gotta be dope. New criticism of his anti-video game comments, and while some Instagram users joined him in expressing congratulations and national pride, others questioned the sincerity of his remarks. Among the most liked responses to his December 12th post were references to a July 2023 press conference, during which the French president controversially blamed video games for inciting real-world violence. That's unfortunate. That statement was part of his comments on the widespread riots sparked by police killing of Nahel Merzouk. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. A 17-year-old French national of Algerian and Moroccan descent who was shot at point-blank range during a routine traffic stop in June 2023. The killing prompted protests in Paris, with demonstrators accusing the police of racial profiling. When they went on to say, it sometimes feels like some of them are experiencing on the streets the video games that have intoxicated them. And this is what he said at the 2023 press conference. Referring to the rioters, he later backtracked on that remark, stating that he wasn't trying to be critical of the industry as a whole. Video games are a culture and entertainment, a spectacle, the head of France said in September 2023. Noting that he was only criticizing the gamification of violence rather than the medium itself. Nonetheless, some Instagram users continued to reference his earlier comments while accusing him of using Clair Obscur Expedition 33's success to score political points, rather than offering a sincere message of support. You said you look at it like we support everything black, so they also support everything French. Fair enough. Fair enough. But yeah, see here, like we have the previous winners here: Destiny, Dragon Age Inquisition, Mario Kart 8 all winning too, and of course Valiant Hearts: The Great War. Witcher 3 winning 3 awards, Overwatch winning 4, Cuphead, Hellblade, and Breath of the Wild winning 3, Red Dead Redemption 2 winning 4, Disco Elysium winning 4. This is a good game I actually want to go back and play. But I don't even think the company that made it is around anymore, unfortunately. The Last of Us Part 2 winning 7, Forza Horizon 5 at 3, It Takes Two at 3, God of War Ragnarok 6, Baldur's Gate 3 6, Astrobot 4, and obviously Expedition 33 at 9. So he blamed racism on video games? I don't know if that's specifically what he said from what we have here. I don't know if I could take that away from there. But it's fair. That's a fair assessment to make from if this is all the context we have. I want to look deeper into that though to see what the actual full quote would be before coming away with an actual opinion on that. But I can see why people would come away with that type of what's the word for it? So I actually did go back and fully read the quote within the full context of what the French president said. He was talking about how social media and video games have caused a disconnect from reality for the youth because most people who are rioting were around the ages of 17 or younger, and how he felt as if video games and social media were causing almost a gamification of violence for people to stop taking it as seriously and just be out there in the streets doing what they see in video games or doing what they see on social media. Completely different from saying racism is caused by video games or video games cause racism. I just wanted to add that extra context for those who may be wondering what the full quote was or what he actually said versus that. And this isn't any particular shade at the person in chat who said it, but I am really particular about making sure misinformation isn't passed, especially as someone who is Black. When it comes to things of that nature, you want to come with the facts. You want to make sure that you're not just saying anything, because it's very easy to look at a headline or a quote out of context and immediately see what it is that you want to see without fully understanding what it is that person said or what that person meant, especially if it's just a random quote thrown in an article with the pretext of someone unfortunately dying due to their skin color. So I just wanted to add that. Again, no shade to the personal person, but I really wanted to straighten that out and clear that up for anybody wondering. Oh, and before I forget to mention, yes, he was still wrong, but I think it's important to add the context of why he was wrong and make sure we understood what he actually said and what he meant versus what an article may say. Also make an effort to not blindly believe anybody, even though they may mean well, because it's very easy to pass along misinformation, and I always have to double and triple check my sources, the facts. And I would always hate if I misquoted somebody or said something or talked about something that wasn't actually accurate or didn't happen. Again, no shade to that person. I just wanted to clear that up for anybody else who may have been wondering. So the historic first label that Macron used to describe Sandfall Interactive's debut title is accurate in more ways than one. In addition to becoming the first French game to win the top honor at the ceremony, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 broke a 5-year-old record set by The Last of Us Part 2, earning the distinction of most awarded game in CJ history with 9 wins. During the December 11th event, Sandfall Shadow dropped its previously announced free DLC for the game. I forgot they did that during their winning speech. They dropped the update the moment they went on stage and added a new location called Verso's Drafts and elaborate photo mode, among other novelties. We'll be taking a look at that shortly. But the cop shot a brown child immediately and said violence was perpetuated by video games. Yeah, I just want, that's unfortunate. I just want to do some reading to, see what the full thing was. Not saying that didn't happen. I just like reading things for myself. But I appreciate the extra added context, Vita. That's unfortunate. This other article we have going forward, again, talking more about Expedition 33, which fans can't get over just how difficult the updates, new bosses, and challenges are now. And they even have a pun here, take Claire. So Claire Expedition 33's new patch Shadow dropped earlier this week, and Sandfall Interactive sure wasn't kidding when it promised challenging boss battles for late game players to overcome within an endless tower. Along with new playable environments, Verso's Drafts, localization efforts, and costumes, patch 1.5.0 introduced new boss battles for late game players to overcome in an endless tower. Described as variations of iconic bosses from the main game, designed to be even more challenging. This includes a brutal reimagining of Simon, one of the RPG's hardest bosses. Let me make sure everybody on YouTube can hear this as well. I'm actually click this on YouTube. Oop, let me unmute this.
Rated M for mature.
Kids have quite the imagination now.
Yeah, they do. Vaso mentioned this place, but he never showed it to me.
Forgot how beautiful this game is.
His private hideout when he wanted to escape.
It looks like everybody got new costumes too.
Yes. My hair is impeccable.
Ooh, you're an artist then.
Photo mode. Gotta have one of those.
Au revoir, mes amis.
Oh wait, is there anything else here? So that looks really good. So for anybody looking for more Expedition 33, definitely a game worth jumping back into. He said this looks like various places from the game, just not destroyed, and how Kid Verso imagined them. They went on to say that almost unbelievably, the Divergent Star version of Simon is even more challenging than his brutal vanilla appearance, and social media is filling up with players who are stumped, shocked, and struggling, not just with Simon, but with the new Red Ring diving board challenge too. Somebody said, I honestly played many games considered hard, but this is driving me insane. I beat Simon, an expert, within 10 tries, then Asquio, also an expert on my second attempt. But these 4 bosses in an endless tower are something else. I don't think I've ever encountered anything that hard ever, Simon especially. Yeah, the thank you update, the fact that this is them thanking their players. Somebody said another in the thread entitled, this DLC thing is a joke. Bro, I finally beat Asquio after hours upon hours of trying. The last battle took about 1.5 hours, no joke. And then I missed time at gradient attack at the end and it's all over. Oh man. No reserve team, no resurrection. So I'll just have to go through those 1.5 hours again without failing just to get another chance and probably fail the gradient parry again. I mean, overall, this DLC is amazing. This is something I honestly hate. I won't give this more tries. Probably I don't have 8 hours to waste to get maybe 5 tries of parrying something that leads to instant death. Don't forget about Hogwarts Legacy being free on Epic until the 18th. Yeah, I remember that too. For anybody looking to get a free game, Epic Games is doing their free games during the month of December this year again. Hogwarts Legacy being one of them. I think the whole list ended up leaking. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to take a look at that. The previously revealed expansion of Clay Obscure Expedition 33 is available right now as announced at the Game Awards. Let me see here. They said back in October, apparently the update would include a bit of Wii and a bit of Woo. Okay. So that's nice. But they say this update came as a way of saying thank you to celebrate an incredible year. You really love to see it. The developers came out and they really showed out because they really love this game. And it's so nice to just really feel how much a studio loves a game that they made, something they worked on. It truly was a labor of love. Yeah, Asking in 45 minutes to an hour in your first try was a nightmare. Oh God. Yeah. Speaking of more games though, apparently let's talk about the Xbox showcase, which it'll have more games than they can even fit into one direct. As they confirmed, their first showcase of 2026 is apparently bursting at the seams. Another Xbox Developer Direct is planned for January, a senior Microsoft official has confirmed. In addition to name dropping one of the studios that will be featured at the event, the upcoming live stream will mark the first Xbox game showcase of 2026. The first Xbox Developer Direct was held in early 2023. Since then, Microsoft turned it into an annual event that always takes place in January, offering a preview of various first, second, and third-party Xbox games that are nearing completion. That trend is now set to continue for the 4th consecutive year. In a recent interview with Variety, head of Microsoft Studios, Matt Booty, I always forget that's his name, confirmed that the company has another Xbox Developer Direct planned for January 2026, as was the case with the first 3 editions of the show. The event will be focused on previewing various Xbox titles set to be released over the course of the year ahead. However, the circumstances are slightly different this time around, as Microsoft is dealing with a good problem to have. This year, we've got more stuff coming up than we can fit into one Developer Direct show. And he went on to suggest that Xbox's generational run of games is set to continue into 2026. Aside from sharing that the big 2026 content promise, the Microsoft executive has also revealed one of the studios that will be featured during the January showcase, Playground Games. Given the event's focus on soon-to-be released titles, this suggests that the next Xbox Developer Direct will feature Fable, Forza Horizon 6, or both. Fable was delayed to 2026 this February, whereas Forza, I almost said Horizon there. Forza Horizon 6 was announced with a 2026 release window in September. If only one appears at the showcase, the new Forza Horizon title seems more likely of a candidate, as it is already rumored for a first half 2026 release, whereas there's still no word on a specific launch window for the Fable reboot. The past 2 iterations of Xbox Developer Direct were held on the penultimate Thursday of January. If this pattern holds up, the 2026 showcase will take place on January 22nd. And in that case, Microsoft will be expected to officially announce the showcase with a concrete date between January 8th and 13th, based on the typical communication cadence. And the announcement may also include confirmation of some of the games that will be featured at the event, which was the case in previous years. Most, if not all, titles that will be shown during the 2026 Xbox Developer Direct are likely to be day one Xbox Game Pass releases. They better be after raising that to $30. While the first 3 Xbox Developer Directs featured plenty of games from Microsoft-owned studios, third-party titles have also regularly appeared at the annual event, ranging from smaller indies to more ambitious projects. For instance, one of the highlights of the Xbox Developer Direct 2025 was the release date announcement for Expedition 33, which turned out to be one of the most critically acclaimed, commercially successful, and universally beloved games of the year. The same event featured the reveal of Ninja Gaiden 4, and while its previous 2 editions showcased everything from Visions of Mana to Aura, History of Untold, indicating that the 2026 Developer Direct may also offer notable content variety. And then these are the games they have listed that might be coming out in 2026 that either have a confirmed release in 2026, we don't know, have no announcement stated. But looking at the slate of high-profile first and second-party Xbox games currently in development, several titles appear to be strong candidates for the January showcase, in addition to Fable, Forza Horizon 6, which Booty himself hinted at. In Exile Entertainment's Clockwork Revolution and the Coalition's Gears of War E-Day are both expected to launch in 2026. The new Gears of War entry has been officially confirmed for that release window, while In Exile Steampunk RPG is only rumored for a 2026 debut, based on its recent mention on the LinkedIn profile of one of the developers. So we got that there. I don't know if we've ever seen anything from State of Decay 3 besides that announcement in 2020. I've heard 0 things about this game since then. I want to say the same thing about Fable, but I could be wrong there. Guess we'll have to wait and see if any of these games pop up at the showcase. The thing I would expect to be there for sure, though, is Gears of War E-Day. I would think, if they didn't want people to forget about this. Going forward, though, a game that also finally got a release date, Marathon. Now with all the controversy surrounding this game, with the stolen art, the developers going through it, because when they did their live stream, they just looked so tired. They had bags under their eyes. And the word of mouth around this game has not been great. People who play tested it said it was okay, but then Arc Raiders came out, and I don't know how this game is going to potentially do when it finally comes out, but we do have a release date now. And since the alpha playtest in April, we've been quietly iterating on Marathon alongside a dedicated community of players. Every closed playtest was a chance for us to hear candid feedback about what's working, what needs work, and where Marathon can shine. This is coming from Bungie themselves. Today, we're sharing a new look at Marathon and impact of the fusion between the community's feedback and our vision for Marathon. How long is this video? Ooh, 22 minutes. We will not be watching that. I am so sorry. Do not have the time currently. But the release date is in March of next year, and it's targeting the price of $40, and they'll announce additional regional pricing as they get closer to launch. Purchasing Marathon will give you full access to the game, including a roadmap of free gameplay updates as the year progresses. This will include new maps, new runner shells, events, and more, starting with the exploration of the UESC Marathon's Cryo Archive in Season 1. We also want to ensure you are logging in because you love the game, not from fear of missing out. So Marathon's rewards passes will not expire, and you'll be able to purchase and unlock prior passes. Finally, and most importantly, we believe in preserving competitive integrity in Marathon, so survival will never come down to how much money you spend. We'll share more about our plans for seasonal content, a roadmap, and details, and when you'll be able to try the game as we get closer to launch. And then here's some highlights as far as features and things that are implemented into the game. Apparently they'll have, oops, let me zoom out. I zoomed in a little too far there. Apparently they'll have proximity chat, solo queue, Rook, which is a new runner shell. I guess this is like their different characters or body types. Not entirely sure how that works. Ways are doubling down on a dark, gritty, and grounded sci-fi world, so it seems like they're doubling down on the art style and the atmosphere. Improved visual fidelity and immersion, including the actual people dropping as corpses in the game to decay over time. Deepened environmental storytelling, audio being better. 4 zones, so 4 new maps, 3 surface zones, and the first zone in the UESC Marathon Cryo Archive, which is the end game challenge. Weapons and mods, different ways to customize your gun, runner and shell archetypes, factions progression. So they'll have different jobs for you to do in game as well. If you played Escape from Tarkov or Arc Raiders, I'm pretty sure you'll be familiar with the system. And apparently the Codex, a collection of your achievements and narrative discoveries, progress to earn exclusive cosmetics and lore. That sounds nice. They said they'll be sharing more gameplay and other surprises and chatting with the community more often as we prepare for release on March 2026. And say you can keep up with the latest news basically on appears to be most social media platforms people are using. Discord, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And they said they look forward to getting Marathon in your hands next year. Are you guys excited for this? Was anybody waiting for Marathon? Is anyone playing Arc Raiders and deciding not to play Marathon? I'm just trying to get an idea of who may or may not be looking into this game. I think if it was free, more people would probably be willing to give it a shot. But for $40, I think it's a big ask. We'll have to wait and see though. I never absolutely hope anything is gonna fail as far as new games and new IPs. So I'm hoping they find an audience and that the game ends up being good. Speaking of good games, we might have a new Alien game on the horizon. Apparently, a new Alien survival horror game leak sounds like a dream come true for Isolation fans. Keep in mind, this is a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. Nothing's been fully confirmed yet. Over 4.5 decades since Ridley Scott's iconic sci-fi horror film Alien first made its debut in theaters, the franchise is still going surprisingly strong, with an alleged leak teasing a brand new Alien survival horror game set to drop in 2028. A variety of Alien video games have been released over the years to varying degrees of popularity and success, and the modern resurgence of horror classics seems to be playing in favor of another fresh jaunt through the terrors of space. Fans of survival horror video games are no doubt intimately familiar with the 2014 smash hit title Alien Isolation, which was great and I do agree was horrifying. If you guys haven't played it and you like horror games, give it a shot, you might like it. Which was praised by critics and audiences alike for its quick thinking and quick learning AI xenomorph enemy, immersive sound design, and franchise consistent storytelling. While players have been able to enjoy the series through recent collaborations like Ellen Ripley and the Xenomorph in Dead by Daylight, the latter's 2025 skin in Fortnite, fans who prefer a more isolated horror franchise single-player experience may have a brand new survival adventure to look forward to. According to the alleged inside sources speaking directly to Insider Gaming, a new game in the Alien franchise is currently in development at Eidos Montreal, the studio that worked on games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Deus Ex Human Revolution, and the 2014 iteration of Thief. Documents claim to list 3 separate characters who will appear in the game: main protagonist Aubrey, potential villain Ryuzo, and the mysterious Ripley 8. Further details show that the upcoming Alien title will feature a blend of different gameplay mechanics that encompass combat, platforming, and puzzle solving. Aubrey is said to have a grappling hook and a pair of magnetic boots, among other items and tools, though it is unclear if these will be specifically for platforming or if they may also be helpful with combat and puzzles. And I guess these are some screenshots from some of the other Alien games. But similar to Alien Isolation, this new rumored Alien experience is said to utilize a player tracking xenomorph AI system that will allow the titular alien to adapt and react based on player actions throughout the game. However, the xenomorphs will not be the only enemies for players to fight against, as spec op units will also be hunting the players down as they try and survive aboard a decaying spaceship. The game overall has been described as a single-player arcade survival horror that is best summed up as Shadow of the Tomb Raider with xenomorphs. As such, players will need to utilize a mix of problem-solving, stealth, navigation, tactical combat, resource management, machinery repair, and even code cracking to overcome all the challenges lying ahead. So maybe a spiritual successor to Alien Isolation, not really a direct sequel, but another game that takes place in that universe with that same type of atmosphere and gameplay mechanics, because that's what it sounds like. One important note is that while the studio is aiming for a 2028 release, the game is still deep in development, and there is always the possibility that major changes could be made prior to an actual launch, which itself could possibly be delayed if needed. A final tantalizing morsel for longtime franchise fans is that the original Ripley actress Sigourney Weaver has been reached out to about potentially reprising her role for the new Alien game, though nothing beyond the first approach has come to fruition yet. Alien is not the only classic film franchise to see revival through video games in recent years. The announcement of a single-player Hellraiser game sparked massive enthusiastic celebrations among horror fans, with many grateful to see the terrifyingly notorious Pinhead and his deadly Cenobites finally set to bring audiences into their own unique realm of torture and suffering. Both Hellraiser and Alien are frequently ranked among the best horror franchises of all time, so it should come as no surprise that many horror fans are keeping their fingers crossed that the confirmed Hellraiser game and the rumored Alien game will both offer terrifying new experiences for gamers to delve into in the years to come. This I'm really excited for if it ends up being true. Like, if they come out with a trailer or something more concrete, I would love to see a new Alien game, because Alien Isolation was horrifying. It was scary. It was a really good game. So if we're getting another game like that in the Alien franchise, we'll love that. We'll love that. Only thing I think I would love more than that is a new Aliens versus Predator game, but I wouldn't hold my breath for that. Would not hold my breath for that. Let's see what else we got for you guys here, though. Since we're on the topic of horror games, let's talk about Resident Evil. Add some more details about how the gameplay will be split up, and the fact that there's 2 characters starring in it. That's great. As Resident Evil Requiem reveals how much you actually get to play as Leon. Resident Evil Requiem will give Leon S. Kennedy about half of the game's runtime as a controllable character, according to new statements made by the game's director. Many fans of the horror game series have been waiting patiently. I think they meant to put patiently here instead of patently, for the chance to step into the role of Leon again, and Resident Evil Requiem looks ready to appeal to that section of the fan base in a big way. Rumors about whether Leon would be appearing in the upcoming Resident Evil game have been swirling for a long time, but a solid answer was recently made during the Game Awards 2025. There, a new trailer for Resident Evil Requiem confirmed Leon's return to the franchise, though it didn't actually show him until the last minute of its nearly 3.5-minute run, as he comes to the rescue by scoring zombie headshots with his trusty sidearm that was likely a clever ploy by Capcom to build up suspense during the Game Awards' biggest night of the year. And it seems to have paid off, as posts across social media the following day are celebrating his inclusion in the game. What's funny is, with him being as old as he is, I believe Leon is what, 48, 49 now? some people started editing him into a wheelchair as he's fighting all these different zombies and different BOWs. He's not even that old. But while the Game Awards host Jeff Keighley clarified that Leon will be a playable character in Resident Evil Requiem, that statement still left the question of how much time players will get to spend with him. Fortunately for his fans, director Akifumi Nakanishi cleared up the issue in an interview with Automaton, stating that about half the gameplay sections will see players controlling Leon, with the other half going to fellow protagonist Grace Ashcroft. Since the game's reveal at Capcom Showcase in July 2024, Grace has been portrayed as the game's main and possibly only protagonist. Capcom's leadership had previously decried multiple leaks about Leon's presence in Resident Evil Requiem as fake news, though that comment was aimed at specific doctored images circulating online and did not outright state that he wouldn't be part of the game. Now, Nakanishi explained that while Grace will serve players well during the pure survival horror section of the game, Leon is more suited to Resident Evil's action game aspects, and that is the role he will be performing this time around as well. Leon has changed a lot over the course of the series, and the director feels his background will take charge attitude mean he isn't well suited to horror, so players shouldn't expect to find him uncharacteristically cowering in fear of undead monsters, nor should they expect to experience the game's biggest levels of terror when he's the one they're controlling. So it sounds like they're going to cut this into two different experiences, maybe covering the both aspects that are beloved by fans of the franchise, that being the horror and the other being the action, especially for all the people who are big fans of Resident Evil 4 and maybe got into the series around Resident Evil 5 or 6. Seems like they're going to have something for you with these Leon sections by having the action. And then if you're someone who's seeking that more claustrophobic, atmospheric, horrifying, alien isolation-esque experience, you'll have that with Grace. Yo, what up, Mike? How's it going? How's it going? I saw you live today playing Arc Raiders. How was the rest of the stream, bro? Appreciate you popping in. Thank you so much. Hope all is well. Let me finish reading this article, though. So instead, that role will be handled through Grace Ashcroft's story, and Nakanishi hopes that fans will react well to the duality of the two hero roles as Resident Evil Requiem transitions between two distinctly different styles of gameplay. While the game will always have just one unified story, Leon's a hardened, long-time veteran of the Resident Evil's biggest horrors. While the director described Grace as the biggest scaredy cat in Resident Evil history, both characters' arcs will provide their own variety of intensity, and he portrayed the shift between them as being likened to jumping into a cold bath after sitting in a hot sauna. While some long-running game series are content to stick with just one consistent protagonist throughout, there are plenty of well-loved Resident Evil characters players have taken control of over nearly 3 decades. While they can't all be considered the main characters of their respective games, there have been more than 20 playable characters throughout the series' run, starting with Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield in the 1996 original, and leading up to Ethan Winters in Resident Evil 7 and Village. Leon has been one of the most popular of those characters, however, having last made his appearance alongside Ashley Graham in 2023's Resident Evil 4 remake, and even longer if you don't count that. So that's cool. Some Resident Evil news for you guys who are into the horror games and maybe anxious to get your hands on this. I know I'll be streaming it when it comes out. Really excited for that. Speaking of rumors, though, taking things with a grain of salt, allegedly, we have another Half-Life 3 leak.
Oh, brother!
I know I said take things with a grain of salt, but I really mean that here more than ever. This is something we really have to take with a grain of salt. They said this announcement was coming before the Game Awards. Then they said the announcement was coming at the Game Awards. Now they're saying the announcement is dropping with the Steam Machine. 3 different announcements. 3 things that have been all confirmed, all unconfirmed. If we haven't seen it already, Valve hasn't said anything. Valve hasn't been building up to it. Again, take this with a grain of salt, but I'm just covering just in case for those who may be interested. According to the new rumors, the heavily rumored Half-Life 3 may still show up, but as a Steam Machine launch title. Half-Life fans have been asking for a sequel to the acclaimed Half-Life 2 for over a decade, to the point that Half-Life 3's existence, or really lack thereof, itself became a meme on social media. Fans have been seeing signs pointing to a 3rd chapter in the series everywhere, and eventually they were all debunked by the repeated absence of Half-Life 3 at major gaming events and showcases. The rumors of the 3rd installment's existence and upcoming first look have been wrapping up for a few weeks now, and it was expected that Half-Life 3 would show up at the Game Awards 2025, but it didn't. This is arguably the best place for upcoming reveals of video games, as it's one of the most anticipated events in the industry, possibly the single most important. As such, not showing up at the Game Awards 2025 could be another nail in Half-Life 3's coffin, but new rumors reaffirm that the game is indeed real and that it will be a launch title for Valve's upcoming Steam Machine. Recently, Insider Gaming's podcast, Insider Gaming Weekly, had Mike Straw reveal that he has spoken to undisclosed sources about Half-Life 3 and Valve's plans regarding the game. Straw stated that his sources are all adamant about Half-Life 3 being a Steam Machine launch title. On Twitter, Straw also shared a post about Half-Life 3's no show and no reveal, possibly being tied to the price and release date of the Steam Machine not being definitive just yet. implying that the game could be revealed once those details are made public and pre-orders become available. It went on to say, this is honestly a thought that I can agree with. Our pricing and release date talks still taking place. If so, holding back on other announcements make a ton of sense. Oh yeah, Vay. Valve's Steam machine has been front and center of recent speculation as it's marketed as a high-end PC console hybrid. The Steam machine's price is still up in the air, but the piece of hardware is supposedly releasing in Q1 2026, which gives further credence to the recent rumors that Half-Life 3 could be a launch title for Valve's new platform. If this is true, the fact that Half-Life 3 didn't show up at the Game Awards does put a deadline on sorts of its alleged reveal, as it should be officially announced around that time pre-orders go live. I will say something that may not be correct here is Valve markets this as a mid-tier PC. They want it to be competitively priced with other PCs, which is why they haven't been able to really set a price yet due to the increasing prices of RAM and other computer parts, unfortunately due to AI and other things, of course, with tariffs and just general hardware, the cost of hardware. That being said, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we haven't heard anything about the Steam Machine price-wise, and probably one of the biggest reasons why we won't hear anything about the Steam Machine until maybe even a month or two before it launches. We'll see though, because they said Q1 2026, so that could be anywhere from what, January to March, maybe no later than April, I would assume. But in this scenario, Half-Life 3 may very well show up in the coming weeks and months, depending on when exactly the Steam Machine launches and what Valve's plans are. So I'm worried that the PC console hybrid may be quite expensive, and popular YouTuber Linus Tech Tips gave an estimate of the Steam Machine's price based on what the components cost may be for Valve, which is around $699 for the retail version of the hardware. This is unconfirmed, and Valve will reportedly announce the price closer to the hardware's release window in 2026. But speculation has a price point in the Steam Machine even higher than Linus Tech Tips' estimate, possibly around $800. Glad to hear the stream went well though, Mike. Even though it was supposed to be a test. That's a good thing though. I'm glad to hear the test went well. And if this all proves correct, there may be a clear reason to hold off on the official announcement of Half-Life 3, and that is to make a big selling point in the Steam Machine. Even in the face of potential backlash due to the PC console's price, a potential timeline could be the Steam Machine's price and pre-orders go live in Q1 2026, possibly between the end of January and February. Half-Life 3 is announced simultaneously with more reveals and trailers mounting up to the Steam Machine's release date, or the Steam Machine's release date is set between March and April alongside Half-Life 3. And it could possibly be sold as a Steam Machine exclusive. Half-Life 3 may hold as much hype power as GTA 6, considering how long fans have been asking for a sequel to 2004's Half-Life 2. In this scenario, Half-Life 3's announcement and release would increase the hype surrounding the Steam Machine, as well as make its perceived value higher if Half-Life 3 turns out to be exclusive for the hardware. I wouldn't hold my breath for this, but I wanted to read this just in case. I would love to be pleasantly surprised and find out that this game actually does drop with the Steam Machine, but I doubt it. I always read these though, just I guess as a hope, the hope factor. Because who wouldn't want to believe this? Like, I think this is one game that could possibly steal hype away from GTA 6, just because of how revolutionary and how beloved this franchise is, and how many people really still like Half-Life 2. And the fact that we just never got an ending. It would be the first game where Valve finally made a third game in their franchise. Got Left 4 Dead 2, Counter-Strike 2. We got Counter-Strike 2 before we got Half-Life 3, Half-Life 2, Portal 2, Team Fortress 2. There's just so many games that just don't have a third game in their series. So people are just really excited, hoping that they can get something. Now, earlier we were talking about the Game Awards. So it's only, what's the word for it, right to talk about another game that was revealed at the Game Awards. Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. And they've gone on to say that if you wanted to play Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic before 2030, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. While many fans were excited to learn that Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic would send players on another adventure set in one of the setting's most beloved eras, journalist Jason Schreier shared that the title likely won't be releasing anytime soon. Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic aims to be a spiritual successor to the original Knights of the Old Republic, which was developed by BioWare and made its debut in 2003. We'd love to hear that. While gamers haven't been given a lot of information for the upcoming title, it seems as if the developers have shared a few noteworthy goals. Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic will be a single-player narrative-driven action RPG where decisions truly matter. As with other Star Wars games that emphasize choice, it seems like players will be able to shape the path of their character. It's too early to know how much else, but declaring itself to be a spiritual successor to Knights of the Old Republic means the developers will likely have some very ambitious plans. And then here's the tweet here for those who want to read it as well. Even going as far as to say in this tweet, maybe it'll be a PlayStation 7 game. Now, in a recent post on Blue Sky, journalist Jason Schreier stated that the recently announced Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic was the biggest surprise of the Game Awards. The title is being led by Casey Hudson, who directed Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the Mass Effect trilogy, and Anthem. Let's not talk about Anthem. But while a lot of those details were enough to get players excited, Jason Schreier was quick to offer his knowledge and perspective on the announcement. As he mentioned that the studio developing the game, Arcanaut Studios, was formed in 2025. This means that Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic hasn't even been in development for a full year yet. He claimed that when it comes to determining a release date, 2030 would be his optimistic guess. He then offered a humorous comment, suggested that it might end up being a title for the PlayStation 7. I forgot who did come out and say it though. I don't know if it was Casey Hudson himself or somebody working on the scene, but they did say the game would be coming before 2030. And the fact that he's not getting any younger. Unfortunately, that's about all we've heard though, as far as the release date goes. That could be in 2029, it could be in 2028. You don't know. But in the comments, plenty of gamers were quick to express their disappointment as they had hoped the title was further along in development. One person in the comments stated that they view announcements like this as non-news, especially when they don't come with a look at any gameplay or even an official release window. Jason Schreier responded to the person agreeing and added that half the time they get canceled, unfortunately. As evidence, he pointed out that Monolith's canceled Wonder Woman game was announced in a similar fashion during the Game Awards in 2021. And while there's no way of knowing what will happen in the future, a lot of players are hoping that this title will cross the finish line, even if they have to wait for quite some time. I really hope that we get past this era of dropping a teaser or a trailer only with no gameplay or even a semblance of a release date. I really hope more studios would take the approach of just holding the game, waiting, and maybe give like 2 or 3 years of a wait if you really have to make people wait. But at the very least, having some type of release date and dropping some gameplay, I think that would be a lot easier of a pill to swallow, rather than giving us a teaser and us having no idea when the game is coming. And while fans may not be able to get their hands on Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic anytime soon, there are some other titles within the Star Wars universe that could be coming much sooner. For instance, the game Star Wars Galactic Racer was also announced at the Game Awards, and it's expected that the title will be released at some point in 2026 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. Gamers haven't been treated to a proper racing game set in the Star Wars universe for quite some time, as the most recent Star Wars title, Racer Revenge, which was originally released 23 years ago in 2002. It's worth noting that many people are hoping to see Star Wars Zero Company make its debut in 2026, and the upcoming title takes place during the Clone Wars era and features turn-based tactics. With so many Star Wars games in development, many fans are feeling optimistic about the future of a galaxy far, far away. So that's a Star Wars news. A lot of new games just on the horizon are coming out or announced, so it's really nice. And speaking of more games like that on the horizon, Larian, Divinity. They've apparently revealed that Divinity will be its biggest game ever and that it'll be even larger than Baldur's Gate 3. Which, of course, this game probably didn't catch you off guard if you're one of the people who saw them file the trademark for Divinity and did the digging afterwards. But after a mysterious desert statue and trademark filing snafu, Larian has officially unveiled its next game after Baldur's Gate 3 at the Game Awards. Larian is returning to its homegrown fantasy series with a new entry simply titled Divinity. We do not yet have gameplay or release window, but Jeff Keighley described it as Larian's biggest game ever, and even larger than Baldur's Gate 3. After some surprise live antics, including performers being hosted over the crowd in a high-wire act, we got a pre-rendered trailer showing a much darker sort of game than we're used to from Larian. A tortured man is shown being burned alive in a Wicker Man-style enclosure, with celebrating peasants degenerating into an orgastic bacchanal outside, overseen by flagellants and a masked cultist under some kind of celestial conjunction. I will say, as far as tone and darkness, it kind of fits closer than it does in Divinity, and Baldur's Gate gets pretty dark too, but Divinity Original Sin 2 literally has you starting out as a slave on a ship, where people are just treating you as less than garbage, and will murder you without a second thought, so I get it, as far as tone and atmosphere. This predictably unleashes some kind of unholy force that attacks the revelers, and after a fade to black, we can see that they've been incorporated into a gruesome amalgamation of bodies in the shape of that mysterious desert statue everyone's buzzing about. Well, now we know it was neither a portent of the end times nor a marketing stunt for the Elder Scrolls 6, and honestly, this is an equally exciting use case for a hell obelisk as far as I'm concerned. Shortly after Baldur's Gate 3 took the world by storm, Larian shocked everyone by revealing that it would not be making an expansion pack or sequel to our 2023 Game of the Year and two-time top 100 champion. The studio subsequently revealed to us that it had 2 projects in the pipeline. Smart money was that at least one of those would be a return to Divinity in its world of Revelin, the setting for all of Larian's mainline games before Baldur's Gate 3. The name Divinity has big reboot energy, and it's unlikely that Larian is aiming to throw the lore book at all of its incoming Baldur's Gate 3 fans. At the same time, I wager it's no more of a hard reboot than either the original Sin games. 2014 Divinity's original Sin took place thousands of years before the rest of the series and completely rewrote aspects of the world and its history. Let's see here. Our 2017 Game of the Year Divinity Original Sin 2 was sandwiched in between 2002's Divinity and Divinity 2 Ergo Draconis from 2009, but it completely changes the characterization, I can't read today, of one of Divinity 2's main characters, and it's even possible to kill him. Beast, you created a time paradox. I've always loved how much Larian disregards the feelings and sanity of wiki editors and its approach to continuity, and I wonder if that will continue or if the studio will try to shape the series' spaghetti timeline into something more cohesive. Somebody come in saying told you it wasn't Original Sin 3. In a press release accompanying the trailer, Larian noted that while Divinity is a brand new game that doesn't require experience or previous Larian titles, those who've played Divinity Original Sin 2 and Divinity Original Sin 1 would be able to enjoy greater understanding and continuity. So despite the name, it sounds like Divinity will more closely follow up on the original Sin games. This will actually be the first game in the series just called Divinity. 2002's Crime Against Marketing, Divine Divinity was the first entry in the series. Speaking of getting off on a nomenclature technicality, Larian Publishing director Michael Dowse was not lying to us when he tweeted that there aren't actually currently any plans for a new Divinity Original Sin 3 game. This is something Larian founder and CEO Swin Vink touched on in a press release. Despite our long history with the series, this is our first game entitled Divinity. We're ready to bring everything we've done previously into one place, and this marks the beginning of something with more breadth, depth, and intimacy than we've ever created before. We've been building towards this moment ever since we took fate into our own hands, and this is the Divinity we've always wanted to make, and you're going to have loads of fun with it. So Divinity does not yet have a release date or window. We don't even know if Larian will pursue an early access model again, but we've got our ears to the ground for any further information. And Vink himself took to Twitter to talk about the announcement a bit more. I don't think I've ever been so nervous about an announcement as this one, but here it is. This is our biggest, most ambitious RPG yet, and we can't wait to show it to you. So all good things, all good things. It sounds like they're going to be taking everything that were in the original Divinity games, Baldur's Gate 3, and just combining them into this game, the biggest game, the game they wanted to make from jump probably, which is nice because not every game they make has to be super huge or super big. Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 weren't. They were very dense and had some depth, but they weren't 200, 300, 400, 500 hours. They were decent lengths. And it seems like this is going to be their magnum opus if we're lucky. Their best game they've ever made so far. In a universe they have complete creative control over. So we'll be happy to see that game when it finally drops, I'm sure. Also, let's talk about that freaky ass trailer, because apparently they have an explanation for that trailer and why it was the way that it was. Divinity's publishing director said the trailer aimed to treat audiences with intellectual respect rather than shocking them. And it's about trying to match their powers of comprehension so that it resonates. I don't know. I don't know. As far as like detail, I'm not sure, but I just wanted to add that for you guys. I know I talked about Arc Raiders earlier when we talked about Marathon, but this I just found kind of crazy. Apparently, some Arc Raider players are skipping the grind and just buying blueprints on eBay. Why? I don't know, but let's find out. Arc Raiders listings on eBay show that many players are reselling valuable in-game items, and the interesting part is that they seem to have plenty of buyers. Developed by Embark Studios, Arc Raiders is one of the most played games of 2025 and recently won the Best Multiplayer Game Award at the Game Awards. Part of its success is believed to come from its addictive looting mechanics, which push players to grind for better gear and resources, though not everyone appears willing to earn upgrades organically. One of the most sought after and hardest to find items in Arc Raiders are the blueprints. There are over 70 of them, all available for free in random topside locations. However, drop rates have been so low for many players that they are still missing the most blueprints. And even after spending hundreds of hours looting boxes and crates, seeing an opportunity, some players are now reselling their hard-earned blueprints online, effectively bringing real-world trading to Embark Studios' popular extraction shooter. I wonder what Cole Connors is going to think about that. Oh, $90?
You what?
People are paying $90 for a blueprint they can earn in-game for free? Oh no, $50? Coins and materials, blueprints? Jesus, what are we doing? Okay, a quick search for the game's name on eBay pulls up over 1,000 results, most of them offering valuable Arc Raiders blueprints or hard-to-earn coins. Prices range from 99 cents to $400 or more. $400 or more?
Are you out of your mind?
It's unbelievable.
Depending on the item rarity or order size. The highly sought after Bobcat blueprint, for example, can sell around $90, while a more common blueprint like Wolfpack typically goes for under $10. Some sellers are also offering crafting materials in bulk, with bundles that include gun parts, power cells, assorted seeds, and more. Nearly everything in a seller's in-game inventory appears to be for sale, often advertised with fast, secure delivery. How would you do this though? Are they trusting people to kind of queue up with them in the game, join in the squad, drop all the items? What if you lose all that? What if you die? There must be something we're missing, right? Okay, here's how it works. Thanks to the Arc Raiders safe pocket mechanic, eBay sellers have relatively secure way to deliver items after placing an order. The buyer sends their Embark ID to the seller and receives an in-game party invitation. Both players then enter a match where the seller hands over the purchased item. The buyer can place it in their safe pocket and return to the lobby without risking the item. Got it. That makes sense. Coins are a different story as they cannot be stored in the safe pocket. In these cases, sellers typically bring a batch of high value items into a match, drop them for the buyer, and then escort them to the nearest extraction point. The buyer can then safely extract and sell those items for coins. Taken together, it points to a well-established real-world trading system operating within the game. Players who do not trust eBay sellers or simply do not want to spend real money on ARC Raiders resources are turning to bartering instead. Several trading threads on the game subreddits let players list the items they want and what they're willing to offer in return. One of the most common deals involves trading a single blueprint for a stack of assorted seeds. What's up, Liv? How you doing today? Hope you're well. The exchange makes sense as blueprints sell for 5,000 coins, while a full stack of assorted seeds is worth 10,000 coins. Until developer Embark Studios introduces the in-game trading system, these eBay and Reddit-driven exchanges seem inevitable. One reason many players choose to buy items rather than grind for them is that ARC Raiders does not feature server-wide wipes. Players can decide whether or not to keep their hard-earned materials or exchange them for permanent buffs and cosmetics during the expedition window. Without these optional wipes, it would make little sense for players to spend hundreds of dollars on items only to lose them a few months later. Interesting. Now, in the early days following ARC Raiders' successful launch, fans turned to the game's official Discord server to stay connected with both developers and players. One question that came up was why trading was prohibited on the official server. A community manager responded, "We don't want to facilitate trading here to avoid real money transactions or people getting scammed." They added that this approach is common among extraction shooter games, which often ban real-world trading. I can see why, because imagine you buy this from somebody, and even though eBay does have some buyer protections and stuff in there, you're still out $400 potentially for a week, depending on how long they take to reimburse you. And then you have to go through the process of appealing the purchase and seeing if eBay even wants to step in with something like that. Now, whether the Swedish developers of ARC Raiders likes it or not, real money trading has already become part of Speranza's economy. eBay listings show no signs of slowing down, and for Embark Studios to curb them, it would likely need to restrict key in-game features like dropping items for friends, which seems far from ideal. That said, ARC Raiders' current roadmap and future plans the developer has for the game in the coming years could hold surprises, potentially including an official in-game trading system to help limit RMT. I really don't know how they would fix this. I would say probably implementing trading in the game, but that turns the whole entire economy of the game on its head and gives them more problems to deal with. But I don't know if they completely turn around and ignore this issue either. This is something they'd have to be very careful about addressing. I don't know how they would go about doing this though. Since we're talking about developers getting involved, Microsoft has apparently nuked a popular Halo 3 mod for Counter-Strike 2 from orbit. I guess this is a quote from one of the actual developers who worked on it. "Make sure you give your thanks to Microsoft." I hate every time this happens. Valve has removed a popular Halo 3 mod for Counter-Strike 2 from Steam after its creator, I'm sure they meant here instead of created, was issued a DMCA takedown notice on behalf of Microsoft. Project Misraya Halo Ports was a collection of Counter-Strike 2 maps that recreated Halo 3's multiplayer and Valve's shooter sequel. Far more than just a map pack, it aimed to replicate the specific feel of Halo 3's multiplayer as closely as possible, Halo-fying its arsenal, adjusting mechanics like ballistics and gravity to better align with Halo's moon-hopping feel, and even throwing in authentic sound effects and announcer lines for good measure. I could possibly see why that would happen then. They probably use the actual assets in order to do stuff like that, right? Sadly, that's over now. On X, Project Misraya co-creator, oh god, these names are killing me today, Fordoyo posted an image of DMCA takedown notice that he had received from Microsoft via Valve. The takedown notice alleges that Misraya's unauthorized use of Halo game content in a workshop not associated with Halo games infringes their rights, and as such, Valve had temporarily removed your postings from Steam. Yeah, they probably, what I saw here and what I said earlier, grabbed the actual assets. The crux of the issue here seems to be that Project Misraya uses assets from the Halo games, hence the use of the phrase Halo game content. The project team could theoretically file a counterclaim if it felt like it could make the case that the project does not infringe upon Microsoft's copyright, but it sounds like that isn't going to happen. And you want to say, well, sorry guys, this project is done. It was fun while it lasted. Make sure you give your thanks to Microsoft. And then this is the tweet, unfortunately, as well as the DMCA takedown notice. I hate to see it, man. I hate to see it. The takedown has led to concerns from within the modding community that Microsoft's move may set a precedent for taking down other Steam Workshop packs. As explained by fellow Halo modder Valkyrie733 and a post quoting Frodoyo's statement, precedent set here impacts other workshops such as Left 4 Dead 2's and Gary's mods, and they could all feasibly get past this by making their own assets, but obviously that's a lot of work. Morgan Park took Project Misraya for a spin back in November and thought it was an impressively accurate recreation of Halo multiplayer. It's delightful if evocative of the source material and legitimately fun. Anyone want to say that I played some CTF and Slayer with bots, or capture the flag for anybody who maybe having a brain fart, and marveled at how effortlessly Halo's old school thinking about map design, power weapons, and verticality translated into 2025 was a certified hood classic. It was a certified hood classic. The last two articles of the day, though, this being one of them. With the increasing use of AI, it's getting harder and harder to tell what's actually AI and what's not AI. There's no 100% guarantee to be able to find out and figure out what's AI and what's not, unfortunately, due to how fast the technology is rapidly progressing and how unregulated it is. Case in point, an RPG developer has apparently been pushing back against the Steam review AI accusations, saying we poured years of our lives into this game and only work with real human artists on everything. Developer now has to push back on AI accusations because of how widespread the technology has gotten and how hard it is to tell what's AI and what's not. Let's find out if it is or if it isn't. See if the article will actually tell us. So Shrine's Legacy has been getting attention on social media after the developer responded to a flagrant Steam review. The ubiquity of generative AI is a hard pill to swallow, but even harder is figuring out what's AI and what isn't. It's easier than ever now to reach for that low-hanging fruit of critique and saying that something looks like an AI spat out, especially now that games are claiming they were in fact spat out entirely by AI. Positive Concept Games, the developer of SNES-esque RPG Shrine's Legacy, found that out the hard way as it shared in a post on Twitter last Wednesday. Went on to say, please don't do this. We pour years of our lives into the game and only worked with real human artists on everything. From the writing to the coding, all work was done by human hands. We do not endorse generative AI and will never use it. First words out this person's mouth, AI slop. Jesus.
It's unbelievable.
Game is 100% AI generated. Story is dog shit mixed with cat shit. Oh my god. The story starts off with some weird stop it stepbrother vibe where apparently your sister, and apparently the developers had to tell people in the comments in the review it was the character's sister because everyone found it weird, asked to go to some pond with you to watch the sunset, and then you start holding hands, and then some side chick comes and wants to be your main chick, and then just all F4 the game. Writing is absolute dog. They use words like you turd. What the f? This is this person's review. Color palettes don't match. Game is 100% AI generated, including the text. Also, just look at the discussion forum. The developer is perma-banning people for bringing this up. The game was made in Chat GPT. I am refunding this game, and you should too. Not even worth getting it on the high seas, matey. Oh my god. Could you imagine? Because I'm not saying they did or didn't use AI, because of course I don't know. But could you imagine being a developer who's been pouring your absolute heart and soul into a game, but because this technology is the way that it is, people who don't like your game or your art style may not be as pronounced, or it may even look a tiny bit generic. You have somebody you don't know review bombing your game because they even think they can smell AI in your game. That's awful, man. That's awful. They could also be right, but if they're not, that just sucks. Now, the developer shared a Steam review of the game that calls it AI slop, claims the story. Yeah, we literally just met that. But that's just one belligerent review, right? Well, a peek at the game's Steam page reviews that other reviews are also scrutinizing the accusation more closely. One other review shares the image of an old Twitter post from a developer where it's seen using an AI tool for April Fool's joke, though the art isn't in the game and the punchline of the joke is to use AI. Let's look at it, see if they still have it up here. Found a cool AI that we're going to be using to make our portraits for Shrine's Legacy from now on. Rio and Mala have never looked more HD. Oh yeah, and then hashtag April Fool's here. So let's see here. Another review claims I did not purchase the game with the intention of playing it, but rather to understand the controversy and look for myself. And then they picked apart various perceived inconsistencies, slight abnormalities in the character art, a vibe of sorts that the story felt AI generated, to which the developer responded, you are almost certainly an all account the original person who accused us of AI. This is, I'm sorry, that's a little funny. I'm sorry. Because that could be true too. There's so much uncertainty surrounding this though. That's the problem, because you can't know for sure. I think even studies have come out showing that people 100%, you and I cannot fully tell if an image has been generated using AI or not, because it's just that convincing, not reliably. There is no 100% way currently for a human being or an AI machine at that matter to tell what was made with AI and what was made with AI. But Positive Concept Games maintains that AI was not used in any part of the development process. And as long as we're going off vibes, I don't see any of the uncanny hallmarks of AI art in Shrine's Legacy trailer and screenshots, which if they're saying the story feels like it was written by AI, imagine it was just badly written. That'd be so funny. But that's sort of the problem with all this. AI disclosure has been met with an ask forgiveness, not permission approach, even from huge studios like Ubisoft. And because AI is both ubiquitous and sometimes hard to spot, accusations like these can get a lot of oxygen without much in the way of evidence. A study from Microsoft estimates that people can only correctly guess whether something was AI generated 62% of the time, which is at least more accurate than AI generated search results, at least according to a study covered by ARS Technica, but it still gives all the back and forth disquieting nebulosity. It's easy to call something out for AI use, but it's harder to definitively fend off such an accusation. If you want to see for yourself, Shrine's Legacy is available to buy on Steam. Let's actually take a look at this. Let's look at the trailer. Let's look at the trailer just to see what the game itself actually looks like. I don't hate the look of this. It looks decent. What I will say about this too is that depending on how the AI is implemented and how people use it, if they are using AI and aren't telling people, this is really bad. But if they're not using AI and people don't believe them, that's unfortunately still really bad. Because just like the article stated, it's very hard to even get this type of accusation off your back. And yeah, it looks like one of those SNES games, which is the exact vibe they were trying to catch. What's up, Bonk? Hope you're doing well today. Appreciate you popping in. We're just currently covering a game that was accused of using AI. Because there are some people who will be fine with it. Arc Raiders uses AI partially. The Finals uses AI partially. Microsoft and other big game companies and developers have come out and said they've used AI in their different parts of the code, which I'm not necessarily a fan of. But I will say people are definitely a little fickle when it comes to how AI is implemented, how many people use it. I think as long as you're not using it to replace people, because if I remember correctly, this was made by either a small team or no more than like 2 people. Don't quote me on that because I don't know for sure, but it was made by a smaller team. And that's what we're talking about right now, Banka, is they say they don't use AI, but they've been accused of using AI. And part of that conversation was the fact that nobody can reliably tell 100% for sure whether or not a game or something is AI. There's no 100% success rate so far. So it's unfortunately like a if you do, you know, if you don't approach. So they kind of just have to hold this. But as you can see before that, like if we go back to the Steam page, I'm pretty sure before this happened, before people started accusing them of using AI, they were sitting at a very positive rating. Now they're at a mostly positive rating. And this game came out in October, so we'll have to see. We will have to see. And people were taking that April Fool's joke as them being 100% serious and saying they were using AI in the game, but it was clearly tagged as an April Fool's joke. But you know people don't like to read.